I woke up to silence. And not the peaceful kind. Not the fresh snow, fireplace crackling, all is calm kind of silence. No. This was the creaking floorboards, open door, where the hell is everybody kind of silence. It was Christmas Eve. 7:12 a.m. I blinked at the sunlight pouring through the hallway and shuffled out of bed, still half dreaming of last night's movie marathon with my headphones on. The plan, was to load up the vans this morning and drive up to the Lake Forest cabin. 17 of us. 4 cars. One loud, chaotic, occasionally wonderful Christmas tradition. Except, the living room was empty. So was the kitchen. No coffee brewing. No chaos. No smell of Dad's burnt toast or Aunt Linda yelling about someone stealing her travel pillow. Just nothing. No coats by the door. No luggage. No cousins fighting over AUX cord rights. The driveway was bare. Like we'd been robbed, except only the family was missing. I checked my phone. No messages. No missed calls. Not even a passive-aggressive emoji from my sister. I texted our group chat, the usual. FamVan 2023. Thread we've used for the last 5 years. Except, I wasn't in it. Gone. Deleted? Or worse, replaced. I dialed my mom. She picked up on the third ring, her voice sugary sweet like nothing was wrong. Erin! Sweetie! What's up? What's up? I repeated, stepping outside into the frozen silence. Where is everyone? There was a pause. Just long enough to be suspicious. We thought you were in the van with your cousins, she said, with the fake cheer of someone trying not to get caught. You're not? Oh no, what a mix-up. I didn't say anything. Because what the hell do you say to that? I heard someone laughing in the background, sounded like my uncle, maybe my dad too. Full holiday road trip energy. Meanwhile, I stood there barefoot in the doorway, holding a phone that suddenly felt heavier than it should have. She filled the silence with a fake gasp. Oh honey, we're already 2 hours out. But maybe you can meet us up there? Still, I said nothing. Okay? Hello? I hung up. Not out of rage. Just numb. It was like finding out the fire you thought you'd been keeping alive had been slowly burning your side of the house down. 2 hours later, I got the text. Well, a text meant for someone else. It was from my sister Emma. Supposedly on her way up in car 2. It was a screenshot. I don't know what app she meant to send it on, probably to one of her friends, but it came to me instead. The image showed the new group chat. Family Christmas Trip 2023 Christmas Tree Nail Polish. 17 people, without me. And her caption? He's really not here? OMG, our plan worked. I stared at the screen. Then typed one line. Merry Christmas. That's all I said. No yelling. No guilt trip. Just silence, returned in kind. Then I logged into the travel platform. The one I used to make the original booking 6 months ago, because I was the planner of the family. Always had been. Every year, I handled the Airbnb. The food drop. The hot tub pass. The Christmas lights package. The boat rental. Everything. And guess whose credit card had made the deposits? Mine. Non-refundable? Sure. But unassigned guests? Now that was a loophole. I clicked, cancel all guest authorizations. One by one. I revoked access to the digital keys, the reservation confirmations, the car rental coupons. Everything. The screen flashed. Guests will be notified. Refund not guaranteed. Are you sure? I clicked yes. And just like that, the $20,000 trip was no longer theirs. They thought I was still the helper. Still the quiet kid in the back who smiled through being forgotten. They thought wrong. The next morning, I woke up at 6:30 a.m. to a buzzing phone. 103 missed calls. One voicemail said, "You selfish little," before getting cut off. Another? Just sobbing. Apparently, arriving at a remote cabin with 17 people and no access wasn't on their holiday vision board. But that was just the beginning. Because step 2? Oh, step 2 was personal. And I was done being left behind. I didn't check my phone for 2 hours. Not because I was avoiding the fallout, I'd already lived through the real pain. The silent group chats. The skip traditions. The "we just forgot" smiles. No, I ignored the calls because I knew what they were. The same voices that excluded me were now turning my phone into a guilt machine. 103 missed calls in under 12 hours? That's not panic. That's control. Or at least an attempt at it. I made coffee. Sat on the porch. Watched the frost melt off the backyard railing like the universe was defrosting a version of me I had long kept in the freezer. Eventually, I opened one voicemail. It was from my mom. "Aaron, honey, listen, there's been a huge mistake. We're at the cabin now and it's locked. No one can get in. We think there's something wrong with the key code. We need you to call back right away, okay? It's Christmas Eve, baby. Let's not ruin it." I almost laughed. Let's not ruin it. As if I hadn't spent the last 10 years dragging coolers, stringing lights, being the guy who got to help, while the rest of the family toasted champagne to each other. As if I hadn't spent last Christmas sleeping on a basement air mattress while my cousin Ryan, who showed up late and brought nothing but vape pens and debt, got the guest suite because he's sensitive about his back. I'd always been the peacekeeper. The planner. The one who smiled through scraps. But that laminated sign I left behind? That was the new me. Because while they were coordinating carpool groups and posting fake nice selfies, I had spent 2 hours the night before crafting a little message, printed on thick paper, slid into a weatherproof sleeve, and duct taped to the cabin's front door. The family arrived to locked smart locks. Dead Wi-Fi. No digital keys. And this? To the guests formerly known as family. This cabin was booked 6 months ago by me, paid for by me, and coordinated by me, down to the extra blankets, hot tub access, and custom Esmores kits that none of you will be enjoying. If you're reading this, you know why. I woke up to an empty house. 17 people. 4 vehicles. 1 group chat, without me. You lied. You planned it. And you left me out. So I've made a decision. You're still welcome to enjoy the snow. But the warmth? The food? The roof? That left with me. Merry Christmas. Aaron. I'm told they stood there for a long time. Some didn't believe it. Uncle Jeff tried the lock a few dozen times. Cousin Sam said it had to be a prank. And then Emma, my sister, the one who sent the "our plan worked" screenshot, started crying. Of course she did. Because people like Emma cry when consequences show up. When the quiet one stops absorbing the blow. By sunset, they'd driven back down the mountain. Most stayed in the town's only motel, one that hadn't seen a renovation since the Reagan administration. No hot tub. No catered meals. No holiday playlist echoing from surround sound. Just beige walls, buzzing lights, and 1 bar of cell reception. And me? I was still home. Not lonely. Not bitter. Just still. Still in my own kitchen. Still holding a mug my dad once gave me that said, "Most valuable son." The same dad who now couldn't remember to text me a "Where are you?" before driving 4 hours north. The second voicemail I played was from Aunt Linda. "Aaron, I don't know what kind of stunt this is, but you're embarrassing yourself. Family works things out. Family doesn't punish each other over miscommunication." I paused the message. Because here's the thing no one ever says. Exclusion is communication. They communicated plenty when they left me behind. When they made a new chat without me. When they planned a whole holiday and hoped I wouldn't notice until it was too late. They were just shocked that I finally answered in the same language. Later that night, my cousin Nate, one of the few decent ones, texted me privately. "Dude, that sign. Brutal. But honestly? You were right. I had no idea you weren't invited." I stared at the message for a moment. Then replied, "No hard feelings. But you might want to reconsider who you're lining up behind." By noon on Christmas Day, I had been called mentally unwell, cruel, and unrecognizable. Not to my face, of course. That would have required a sliver of courage. No, they did it the modern way. Through subtweets, vague Facebook posts, and desperate texts to my one remaining cousin ally. Aunt Linda went first. She posted a long-winded, passive-aggressive Facebook status complete with an old family photo cropped right at my shoulder. Holidays are about forgiveness. Sadly, not everyone remembers that. Some people can't handle being told no. We're praying for healing, even when others choose revenge. Broken heart. The caption was vague enough to avoid legal trouble, sharp enough to do its damage. By the time my cousin Nate sent it to me, it already had 43 likes and a chorus of church lady sympathy piling up in the comments. Sending love. Hope things work out with the family. Let us know if we should bring a dish. I could practically see Aunt Linda in her motel bathroom, tapping refresh with one hand and sipping boxed Chardonnay with the other. But what she didn't realize. I had every receipt. I had the group chat screenshot. Our plan worked. Message. The calendar invite I was deliberately removed from. The Venmo thread where Emma sent my mom gas money with a wink emoji. And I had been quiet long enough. I didn't go nuclear. I didn't post anything angry. I didn't even use my main account. Instead, I made a burner. Nothing shady. Just a clean, anonymous Reddit post titled, "AITA for canceling a $20,000 family trip after they left without me?" I laid out everything. How I planned the trip, paid for the cabin, organized the cars, and woke up in an empty house on Christmas Eve, not even an apology in sight. I included the screenshot. Blurred names. Clean evidence. No rage, no insults. Just the story. Within 2 hours, it had 6,000 upvotes. The comments? Merciless. You're not the AH. You're a legend. I'd have done the same thing. Actually, worse. The fact that they're mad proves it wasn't a mistake. OP, start a new tradition, a family of one. It felt like air returning to lungs I didn't know had collapsed. For years, I'd been gaslit into thinking every slight was a misunderstanding. That being left out, forgotten, or overlooked was just something I had to accept. That it was my role. But now the story was out, and I wasn't alone. That night, Emma texted me directly. "Hope you're happy. You humiliated us in front of the entire family." I didn't reply. A minute later. "What are you even trying to prove? That you're some martyr now? You could have just talked to us. Now you look crazy." Funny. Because I tried talking. I tried when they left me out of 2 group chats last year. I tried when they skipped my graduation party but flew out for Ryan's divorce adversary weekend. I tried when I asked for a place to crash during a rough patch, and was told there were too many people already staying over. I had spent years talking. Now it was their turn to sit in the silence. Nate messaged again. "Just wanted you to know, people are starting to talk." Aunt Linda's post? Backfired. She didn't realize the younger cousins are all on Reddit. Everyone saw it. He sent a laughing emoji, then followed up. "Uncle Mike said the trip was cursed the moment you backed out. They couldn't even light a fire in the fireplace. Everything's going wrong." I'll be honest, that part made me grin. Not because I wanted anyone to suffer, but because for once, they had to sit in the mess they made without someone cleaning it up for them. Later that night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I made dinner, not takeout, not frozen pizza, not ramen in a cup, but an actual, adult meal. Roasted chicken, sweet potatoes, garlic green beans. Nothing fancy. Just enough to remind myself that being alone wasn't a punishment. It was freedom. After dinner, I lit the fireplace. Put on music. Watched the snow fall through the window of a house I wasn't afraid to call mine anymore. No yelling. No guilt trips. No being asked to make room for everyone else's comfort. And that's when I started writing the list. Step 3. Because yes, there would be a step 3. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just something they couldn't ignore. The knock came just after midnight. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't aggressive. It was 3 slow taps, followed by silence. Like the person behind the door was unsure if they were allowed to even be standing there. I hadn't been expecting anyone. Not on Christmas night. Not after the chaos of the last 48 hours. I set my book down, muted the soft jazz playing in the background, and walked to the door barefoot. And there he was. Nate. Cousin number 5 in the family hierarchy. Son of my dad's younger brother. Graphic designer. Introverted but clever. The only person in that 17-person family group chat who had messaged me privately to say, I think what they did was messed up. He looked exhausted. Hey, he said. Hey, can I come in? I hesitated a moment, more for form than anything else, then opened the door wider. Shoes off, I said quietly. New rug. He smiled. Kicked off his boots. Followed me into the kitchen like he'd done 100 times before when we were kids. Back then, we were the two always left to clean up after dinner while the older cousins drank and the younger ones screamed over iPads. Some roles never changed. Others had to. He dropped his backpack on the floor and sat at the table. Brought whiskey, he said, fishing out a half-full flask. Didn't know what you had left. Heard the trip got complicated. I poured 2 glasses without speaking. We sat there in silence for a while. Just breathing. Sipping. Finally, he said, You were right. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. They planned it, he said. All of it. Emma told my sister she was sick of you sucking the energy out of the holidays. Said this year needed to be drama-free. Said you wouldn't notice if they all left early. She was almost right, I said. Nate looked up at me. They've been talking about this since Thanksgiving. I blinked. Wait, since then? He nodded. The group chat without you? It's been active for months. They were posting in both chats at the same time, just to keep you off the scent. I took a slow breath. Not out of surprise, but out of confirmation. The suspicion I'd been trying to suppress for weeks, maybe years, had finally formed into something solid. They called you controlling, Nate said quietly. Said you get weird about money? That you make everything about logistics instead of spirit. I let out a single laugh. No joy in it. Yeah, I said. Well, someone has to make the spreadsheet if everyone else wants magic to show up on time. Nate downed the rest of his drink. You didn't deserve any of it. And I'm sorry I didn't say more sooner. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He meant it. But apologies didn't fix the past. They just made the present bearable. What happened up there? I asked. He shook his head. Oh man. You wouldn't believe it. First, the motel ran out of rooms. Emma and Aunt Linda had to share a double bed and fought all night. Then the restaurant reservation got cancelled because no one confirmed it. Ryan got food poisoning from a gas station taco. Uncle Jeff's car battery died. And your mom lost her phone charger and blamed the motel clerk. I smiled into my glass. But the best part, he continued, they tried to rent a rec hall to save the weekend. Guess who had already booked it a week ago? I blinked. You. He grinned. I remembered what you said last year. That if they didn't want you organizing things anymore, someone else could try. So I tried. And they hated it. I leaned back in my chair. You were planning something? Not revenge. Just a backup plan. In case they pulled this. Didn't expect them to actually go through with it. I nodded. Neither did I. He finished the whiskey, then pulled out a folded piece of paper. Here, he said. What's this? It's my RSVP. For whatever you're planning next. I unfolded it. It was a hand-drawn invitation. Rough lines, black ink, 2 checkboxes. Are you building a new family tradition? Count me in. Still attached to chaos. Below he had written. Choose me. Not them. If you ever want someone to bring ice and not ruin everything. I folded the paper carefully and set it on the table. I might, I said. I just might. It started with a spreadsheet. Old habit, maybe? Or maybe I just needed to see it all laid out, clean, structured, mine. New Year's, birthdays, next year's holidays. A list of what I'd usually be planning. What I'd usually be coordinating. Who I'd usually be cleaning up after. And this time? A blank slate. I put one name on the invite column, Nate. The rest stayed empty. I wasn't being petty. I was being honest. For the first time in years, I didn't want to extend an olive branch just to get slapped with it later. Instead, I made other plans. Not out of spite, out of peace. I started looking at coastal rentals. Places with no family legacy. No old memories baked into the walls. Just quiet, good food, and people I actually wanted to be around. I started talking to friends, The ones who didn't need blood to make something feel like home. Turns out, once you stop being the one who chases, a lot of doors stop slamming in your face. But just as I was beginning to feel like the world might be bigger than the guilt I grew up in, I got another knock. This time, it wasn't Nate. It was Emma. She didn't bring cookies. She didn't wear contrition. She wore designer boots, a white parka, and sunglasses despite the fact it was snowing. She looked like someone prepared to lose a lawsuit, not make peace. I opened the door. Barely. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to see," she said, breath visible in the cold. "You're not wrong," I said. "Can I come in?" "That depends," I said. "Is this an apology or a PR stunt?" She sighed. "Can it be both?" I didn't answer. Just stepped aside. She came in, carefully avoiding the rug. Looked around like she was seeing the place for the first time, even though we'd spent every other Thanksgiving in that very living room, watching reruns and arguing over pie crusts. "You've been busy," she said. "I've been awake," I replied. She winced. "Look, this whole thing got out of control." I raised an eyebrow. "Which part? The lying, the private group chat, or the Facebook smear campaign?" She flinched. "Okay. There." There was a long pause. The kind that hangs in the air like smoke from a fire that hasn't gone out. "Mom's a wreck," she said finally. "Dad's furious. Everyone's blaming everyone." I stayed silent. "She's saying you've always had a hard time being left out. That you overreacted." I let that sit there. I wanted her to hear it out loud. How ridiculous it sounded. Then she added, "But I told her she was wrong. That you didn't overreact." That part caught me off guard. Emma never took my side. Not once. She was the queen of distance, the kind of person who could watch you drown and still call it your wave to ride. "I told her," she continued, "that you didn't overreact, because we meant to leave you out." There it was. The truth. Finally said out loud, in a room too quiet for her to pretend otherwise. "You want points for admitting that now?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "I want to fix it." I tilted my head. "You fix something?" She bristled. "I'm serious." "So am I said. "Because this isn't something you fix. You don't get to play social chess, lose the game, and then ask for a rematch with new rules." She looked away. "I think we made a mistake," she whispered. "No," I said. "You made a choice. A very specific one. For months. You built a structure where I didn't exist. You planned around my absence. You celebrated my silence. That's not a mistake, that's design." She nodded, slowly. Her shoulders slumped. "Okay. But still, what do you want from me?" I let the question hang. Because it was the wrong question. "I don't want anything from you," I said. "I just don't want to live in a story where I have to keep proving I belong." She swallowed. Then turned toward the door. "You're really cutting us off, huh?" "No," I said. "You already did that. I'm just refusing to crawl back." She nodded. Paused. Then walked out. Didn't look back. The letter arrived the next morning. Plain envelope. No return address. Slid under my door like some kind of paper ghost. Inside? A printed document on legal letterhead. Half formal, half panic. Titled, "Notice of Intent to Resolve Private Family Dispute via Third-Party Mediation." The body of the letter was nonsense. Phrases like emotional distress, abuse of authority, and my personal favorite, deliberate sabotage of communal property and tradition. Apparently, the trip was now a communal tradition, and my cancellation of the booking was a coordinated act of aggression. It was laughable, if it weren't also so predictable. They were losing control of the story. And when people like them lose control, they go legal. But here's what they didn't know. I had a lawyer already. Not some revenge-fueled surprise. Just smart planning. I'd called her the day after I canceled the trip. A friend's referral. Family law. No nonsense. The kind of woman who says things like, "You're not petty, you're protected." I scanned the letter and emailed it to her. Subject: Thoughts? 10 minutes later she replied, "It's nothing." Noise. There's no cause, no precedent, no damages. You are well within your rights. Also, who uses Times New Roman in 2025? I actually laughed. Because it was all so fragile. Their accusations, their outrage, it was theater. A badly written play performed for an audience that had already left the building. Still, I couldn't ignore the feeling. That old weight in the chest. The one that whispers, maybe you went too far. The family's go-to tactic. They never told you directly that you were a problem. They just made you feel like you were hard to love. I stood in the kitchen, letter in hand, staring at the place on the wall where Mom's holiday family rules sign used to hang. Smile. Forgive quickly. Always say yes to Christmas. That last one always got me. Because the truth is, I always did. Said yes to bad plans. Said yes to being the ride, the bank, the peacekeeper. I said yes to being left out, as long as they promised to let me back in later. Now? I said no. And they were panicking. That afternoon, I got a text from Nate. Don't freak out. But I think Aunt Linda is telling people you're trying to sue the family. Classic. I replied. Also, Ryan says he wants to talk. I wouldn't pick up. Ryan. The golden boy. The one who once, accidentally, spilled wine on my new laptop at Thanksgiving and then laughed about it like it was a prank. So of course Ryan called. 3 times. I didn't answer. On the 4th, he left a voicemail. Hey man. So I don't know what's been said or what you think happened, but we're all just super stressed. And maybe it's time to talk? You don't want this to get uglier. Trust me. Just call me back and we can work something out. There it was again. Not an apology. A threat disguised as concern. I sent the voicemail to my lawyer. She responded. Cute. Still meaningless. Then added. Also, if they try to escalate this, I'll be requesting a full financial accounting of all trips from the last 5 years. If you've been paying out of pocket, they're going to want to drop this very fast. For the first time in days, I felt something loosen in my chest. Because they'd spent years assuming I'd never speak up. Never say no. Never defend myself. They mistook kindness for compliance. They were about to learn the difference. That night I sat at my desk and opened a new file. Title, Holidays 2025, Chosen Family Edition. I made a list. It wasn't long. But it was enough. Nate. Sasha. Malik. Julia. People who didn't guilt me for having boundaries. People who never made me beg for inclusion. I typed the last line slowly. This year, we build something new. Not out of spite. Out of survival. The text came on a Thursday morning. From my mother. Simple. Formal. We would like to meet. All of us. At your house. Sunday at 4. No, sweetheart. No guilt-laced emoji. Just logistics. I stared at it for a minute, then texted my lawyer. Can I legally record a conversation in my own house? She replied. Yes. And I'd advise it. I didn't tell them I'd say yes. I didn't confirm. I didn't ask who, all of us, meant. But when Sunday came, I made space. Literally. I cleared the living room. Set up 17 folding chairs in a loose circle. Left one chair slightly pushed back from the rest, marked with a folded piece of paper that read, I guess you forgot me. Then I waited. The first knock came at 3:53. It was Aunt Linda, of course. Early, smug, perfume-like apology wrapped in chemical warfare. Then came Dad. Quiet. Shoulders hunched like he was preparing for bad news but still believed he was the victim. Ryan in sunglasses. Indoors. Emma, who gave me a brittle nod. A few cousins. My mother last, holding a pie, like that would erase anything. They shuffled in, unsure of what this was going to be. A roast? A cry fest? A plea? I sat in the only real chair, mine. And I let them stew in the quiet for a minute before I said anything. You asked to meet, I said. So speak. For once, no one rushed to fill the silence. Finally, Mom did. We've all had time to reflect. She said. Things were said, decisions made, and it's clear now that it hurt you. Deeply. I said nothing. Leaving you behind wasn't meant to be cruel. She continued. It was poorly judged. The intention wasn't malice. Intention is a luxury, I said. That shut her up. Ryan spoke next. Look, man, he said, adjusting his jacket. You made your point. Everyone's miserable. Can't we just go back to how it was? How it was? I repeated. You mean me paying for things, planning things, and being left out when it's convenient? He shrugged. We just thought. Exactly. I interrupted. You thought. You decided. Without me. And that's the problem. Aunt Linda cleared her throat. I still believe this could have been resolved privately. It was private. I snapped. Until you made it public. Until you started pushing a story where I was unstable. Until the letter. My dad shifted uncomfortably. That wasn't us, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Then who hired the mediator? No answer. I took a breath. I'm not here for apologies, I said. I don't believe most of you are sorry. I believe you're uncomfortable. And that's different. They squirmed. Every last one of them. Except Nate, who sat quietly beside the door, arms crossed, watching like a bouncer at a family funeral. I didn't cancel Christmas to hurt you, I said. I canceled it because I finally saw how little I mattered to you outside of service. Emma leaned forward. That's not true. Then why did you celebrate excluding me? Why did you text our plan worked? Her mouth snapped shut. I'm not asking to be included anymore. I continued. I'm telling you that whatever this was, this dynamic, this hierarchy, it's done. My mom finally broke. But we're family. No, I said. We're relatives. That's not the same thing. Another silence. Deeper this time. One by one, they looked at the chair I'd left pushed back from the rest. None of them asked about it. But they all knew what it meant. You'll always have a place, Mom said softly. Not if I'm the only one who has to fight for it, I replied. She reached for my hand. I pulled it back. I forgive you, I said. But I don't trust you. Not yet. Then I stood. And walked out of the room. Nate followed. Everyone else stayed behind, staring at the chair that looked just like all the others, but had become the loudest seat in the room. Easter came and went without a single call. So did Memorial Day. My birthday. Even Father's Day, which they used to use as an excuse to send long chain texts about legacy and tradition. This time? Silence. And it was the best sound I'd ever heard. I didn't miss them. Not the way they think. I didn't miss the performances, the politics, the endless game of don't rock the boat. What I missed were the things I'd carried with me anyway. My dad's chili recipe, the old ornament boxes, the wind chimes my grandfather made before he passed. Those weren't family. Those were mine. By July, I had a new rhythm. I worked. I hosted Sunday dinners with Nate and a few close friends. We played cards. We drank too much wine. No one asked me to take pictures or split the check 5 ways. Because you're so good at math. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was being chosen, not tolerated. One evening, as we lit a fire in the backyard, Sasha, a friend I met through Nate, leaned over and said, You seem taller these days. I laughed. Posture therapy. She shook her head. No. You're not carrying them anymore. That hit harder than I expected. Because she was right. I used to walk like I owed them something. Now I walked like I finally paid it off. And then, in mid-November, a letter arrived. Not a legal one. Not a guilt trip holiday card with glitter in the corners and nothing in the message. It was handwritten. On lined paper. From my dad. No envelope. Just a page, folded clean, left on my porch like someone couldn't bear to knock. It read, Aaron. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't think I've earned it. But I wanted you to know, when you walked out of that room I saw it. I saw everything I'd ignored. I saw myself in you. The part of me that gave up too early. The part one buried. I let them drown your voice for years. You didn't disappear. We did. I won't make excuses. But I'll say this. You were always the one holding the wheel. We just pretended not to notice, because we didn't want to share it. I hope your holidays are warm. I hope your table is full. I hope you saved a seat for someone who didn't know how to stay. If not, I understand. I sat with that letter for a long time. Not because I didn't believe him, but because for the first time, he hadn't asked for a reply. He just said what needed to be said, and left it there. That Christmas, we didn't do anything extravagant. Just 5 of us. A tree I picked up from the local lot. Handmade cards. Old vinyls playing through a speaker. Nate fixed himself. We grilled steaks. Played charades. Laughed so hard someone snorted mulled wine. And at the end of the night, as I was packing up leftovers, Sasha pointed to the extra chair in the corner. Expecting anyone else? No, I said. But it feels right. She smiled. And it did. Not because I was waiting, but because I was open to healing, not return. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't fireworks or confessions. Sometimes, it's being unreachable. Sometimes, it's building something so good they can't imagine how you did it without them. And when they call, if they ever do, you don't need to say much. Just this. You made your choice. I made mine. This is where mine led. And then you close the door. Not in anger. In peace.